Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, October 31st, 2018. Happy Halloween, everyone. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss, and this is a look at the ES in a daily time frame. We are squeezing right now, pushing toward multi-day highs at the moment. We bounced from the lows a couple of afternoons ago, and so far it's been a pretty decent move back above 2700. The question is, will this move last? Will the bounce last? And for the most part, what we're seeing is price push back into the and above the 8 period average in a downtrending move. That is typically very bearish. It's the same type of move we had here. Are we going to see a push higher and then a flush downward to start November to take out the lows and test prices below, say, 2600? I think right now that any rejection above 2700 is likely going to be seen as weakness, and selling pressure will ensue from all of the weak hands that have bought on the way up. So right now, this is a very important area to continue to watch. I think if price can push through 2710 and hold, there's a good shot that we can bounce further. But then heading into the next month's pivot range like this, that could offer an opportunity to sell this thing for a return to recent lows. So again, still in a downtrending market. This low, while we have bounced from it, was not a strong low either. Again, still searching for a very strong low. All of these lows here have been very, very weak lows, and from there we've seen retests of many of them. So again, this could be a counter trend bounce in a downtrending market, so don't get caught buying too high up here. And again, if we can see acceptance above 2710s, it could open up quite a bit of upside in the near term, perhaps to 2750, maybe even a little bit higher. So it could be decent on the upside, but it could be short-lived. Just keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look at the NQ. Here's the NQ. What you see right here is price bouncing also in a counter trend move here. This counter trend bounce after the major sell-offs we've had over the last two waves. You can see right here again, we haven't even gotten to the 8 period moving average. Also, you have price retesting the key range low here from below. If price can reestablish acceptance above that low, then we may see a bounce back up toward 73.18. However, if price fails to establish acceptance above that low, which is basically this low right here, the low is 69.0775. Basically, that's the key level. And if there's a rejection at that level, say we pop above it here and reject prices above it tomorrow, 1st of November, 2nd of November, that could lead to another major round of weakness again. So 7K is a big time level overall. Can price push through that zone? That could be enough to really open it up at least a little bit more. So right now, again, this is a nice little bounce from these lows. That was not a super strong low. We could see another round of weakness still until we find at least an area where buyers are enticed to step in and stop the bleeding. And that, again, could be below those key range lows from earlier in the year. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil right here is showing signs of rejection at these lows, but it's not very convincing at the moment. You can see here the previous session, quite a bounce off the lows. It looked like a failure. We had a stop run day down, which is what we mentioned could happen if 6630 gives out. We had a perfect stop run day down, but then price bounced back up and closed the day near the mid. That again suggests that we could see a bounce higher, at least to retest 68s. Right now we're testing yesterday's midpoint, still sitting right there, and it doesn't look very enticing in either direction. The downtrend remains very and it remains in effect still very bearish downtrend, but again with this rejection it opens the door to strength, but right now not really showing the type of rejection that we would have really liked. It could have really finished much stronger, but it didn't, and so this appears like it could continue to see a little bit of chop back and forth before we find that strong low. So again, if there's any failure to hold 6630, that could open up another round of weakness. So keep that in mind. All right, let's take a look now at gold futures. Gold has pulled back. I mentioned 12/16s could be a level that's tested, and 1216 is right there. It's already testing it ahead of next month. We could still test it next month, but basically it come back into the pivot range, into 1220, into 1216s, which is the midpoint of this month's range. All of that suggests that we could see, again, more strength if that zone can hold. And again, we've had a little bit of a pullback after this recent rally, and if they can hold it, it could be a great bounce opportunity back toward 1287. If there's a failure to hold 1216, 1210, that starts to open up a failure, and then all of a sudden we're dropping back down. So again, we've got to see if price can continue to hold this area. If so, there's a good shot to continue higher. Got to get through 1240s first. All right, lastly, let's take a look at RTY. You'll notice right here RTY is bouncing from the recent lows, again, much like the broader market here, but this one is pushing through the top end of a 4-day range. It was a very clear 4 to 5 day range. You can kind of see it right here from here to here, and it is currently holding just above the top end of that range right now. And again, if price can find acceptance, perhaps through 1530 or push through 1530 and back above it, it could open up quite a squeeze. However, in a downtrending market that we've seen here recently, and pushing back into the PIMA trigger zone in a downtrending market, as we are now, usually you see another rotation downward, especially if you haven't really found a strong low. This is not a strong low. It's a pretty decent low. I mean, it's not bad. If you look at the hourly chart, it's not a bad low. But at the same time, it's not the low that's going to send prices much higher. And so when you don't have that, any counter trend bounce is likely seen as a selling opportunity. It's sell the rips type of opportunity. So while we could see a major rip here and continue higher, I would caution bulls here. You are at the most risk right now if you are entering trades at this point. So just keep that in mind, because if there's any failure to hold 1517, that's the earliest out, because if not, this thing could be dumping over the next 3 to 7 days to the downside, and it could be significant. So again, this is the key zone to watch for a rejection and a rotation downward. If price can push above 1530, it could open up quite a squeeze, perhaps back toward 1565s. So it could be pretty significant. I'm not saying it can't go up. I'm just saying keep an eye on 1517. If there's a failure to hold that level, it opens up quite a bit of downside ahead. Alright, that is it for now. Please remember, I am hosting a monthly market outlook for the month of November tomorrow, November 1st at 3:30 p.m. Central. We have Apple earnings tomorrow and a host of others that are coming out November 2nd as well, so we will get ahead of those earnings as well. We're going to look at various stocks and futures and various markets for the month ahead, and we're also going to talk about how we identified what could potentially happen in October and what ultimately did happen in October. That is this major sell-off. So we'll talk about the cues and clues that we use to identify that as well. So please join me tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Central. It's going to be the Join Me Pivot Boss link that we use for each meeting. All right, see you soon. Good luck. Trade well. I'll see you in the trading room.